Well, we're officially courting now.
The whole courtship thing, I thought, I like her, why would I want to take her to court? I had been exposed to that. It's a big next step, and it's an exciting next step. I have a desire to save, really, the physical for marriage. I think we both understand that there are temptations, and if we open a lot of doors physically, then the time spent together basically becomes a time of saying, okay, we can't cross this line.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, December 14th, 2022, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's very, very busy this time of year, and as many people are preparing for the holidays, there are families that are completely imploding, like the Brown family of Sister Wives. And after the holidays, there's going to be some books coming out, which will be, I don't know, new content to talk about on the channel, because Jinger Duggar is writing a brand new book. And on the heels of the book being published, she is starting to do some interviews. And a new interview came out only yesterday with Publishers Weekly, and they spoke about her brand new book, Becoming Free Indeed. She recently did a video where she launched and announced the book to the public, and she promised that it would share never before stories from her childhood. And this new article actually dives a little bit deeper and explains the reasons why she made the decision to actually write this book. And if you're wondering if she's going to talk about her brother Josh, she is. So Jinger will be diving into her brother and Bill Gothard and a comparison. Yikes. Jim Bob and Michelle are probably quaking somewhere. I would love to talk with you about this brand new topic and this new article, but before we do, can you do me a very big favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed. Turn notifications on so you know when I go live or new content loads, and you can do that by clicking on the bell. And then also, if you have something to say, make sure to leave a comment. I want to thank everyone who's recently subscribed and making this a wonderful place to be. All right, so Becoming Free Indeed is going to be coming out in January of 2022, and Josh Duggar is in the middle of his appeals, which we know will likely not go very well, in my opinion, and he recently got another delay for his brief, and I believe it's going to be another couple weeks before he files his brief response to the Court of Appeals for his conviction. Today, while he's sitting in Seagoville, Texas, his wife is currently living with the Duggars with her 7 children, and the family is more divided than ever. Many of the Duggars have completely distanced themselves from the media and from social media. Some of the brothers don't have very active accounts. Josiah and Lauren have all but disappeared online. And then others, like the sisters, continue to post and publicly share their lives, even though they continue to get backlash. And whether you love them or you hate them, the Duggars always have something going on in the family that leaves people talking. This is all about Jinger's book. So Becoming Free Indeed is going to be published. In January, and she actually on January 31st, and she is sitting down in an interview with, she sat down in an interview with publishersweekly.com. And in this book, they talk a little bit about how her distangling her faith sort of brought her to this place. One of her primary reasons for apparently writing this book comes down to the fact that she had written a book called Growing Up Duggar that was published back in 2014. And she says that having grown up now, and she realizes that the faith she grew up in was actually very harmful and has actually been has hurt people. And the faith, she believes, is part of the reason that things get covered up and things that happen to kids get covered up because of the faith. And she It says the book will describe her newfound religious practice that aligns with God rather than anyone who claims to speak for him. So she is all about Jesus and not about the preacher. This is what she said about the IBLP to Publishers Weekly. I was probably one of the most devout in my family. She felt passionately about showing others a lifestyle she believed was honoring God. And from what she wore to the music she listened to, she aimed to embody Gothard's principles. And she said, I really loved those teachings and I thought everybody needed to know about it. But now, as she's grown up, she says that she realizes that the faith that she grew up in was actually a fear-based religion with a vengeful God. And she said, I was waiting for God to punish me or condemn me for things that the Bible said nothing about, she says. It almost made me feel superstitious. So I'm assuming with the vengeful and the punishing would be things like the umbrella of authority, this made-up concept that the structure and the hierarchy of the family is that there's God, then there's the man, then there's the wife, and then there's the children. And as long as the wife stays beneath the husband, the ideal that was put forth by the IBLP was that the woman is protected under the umbrella of authority, and that stepping outside of that umbrella would actually cause bad things to happen. And I have a sense that that would make someone feel incredibly superstitious, because why wouldn't it? If you thought that stepping out from authority would cause things akin to witchcraft, I mean, that's what it's like. If you fall out of authority, it's akin to witchcraft. It's rebellion. So I can see where that would cause her to feel superstitious. So apparently, as she got older, inconsistencies in his faith didn't hold true. So they went on to say, Gothard promised financial success and familial bliss to those who strictly adhered to the word, but as time went on, that never happened for many of his followers. She noticed that children were even confused by Gothard's interpretation of the Bible. And she said kids saw that we could never measure up to a perfect standard of success. So the Institute in Basic Life Principles, it started as a youth conference that Bill Gothard designed as a way to help children that were being rebellious. And it was this seminar that he started as a way to help troubled youth. And it morphed into a homeschool curriculum and all of these different principles that he felt, as long as people followed, would get people to heaven and they could be the best Christians out there. What it ended up becoming was an incredibly legalistic institution where the rules benefited those in power, and it insulated Gothard from any sort of accountability. And it also insulates patriarchs and people that are at the top of the family from accountability, and it enables in the covering up of bad acts because of that. And so Gothard effectively created an organization that would insulate his bad behavior. So apparently it was in 2012 when all of this stuff came forward about Gothard that also was a turning point for her. Gothard's own commitment to chastity and piety was called into question when former members of the IBLP began posting stories of SA involving Gothard on a website called Recovering Grace. And then by 2014, there were more than 30 allegations against him. And an internal investigation that had been done by the IBLP ultimately resulted in him resigning as a president. And then in 2016, a lawsuit was filed, which was later dismissed in 2018. But it was around that exact same time that all of this is happening with Gothard that she's then introduced to a different type of worship and of faith through Jessa. So a lot of people were wondering, who is the brother-in-law that she was going to credit with helping her change her mind? And that brother-in-law is Ben. So she apparently starts going to church at Ben's church and hears a completely different kind of preaching. And this is coinciding with the fallout happening with Gothard. And she said that I noticed the church read the Bible in the entirety and preached scripture that way. So instead of watching videos, which a lot of their homeschooling was watching a Gothard video and doing their worksheets, their wisdom books, and doing all the different worksheets through the IBLP, which aren't biblical, they're just IBLP. She says going to church basically is what she made her realize that they read the Bible. You know, it's funny. I feel like I had something similar happen to me, and this is totally random, but I grew up Catholic, and in the Catholic Church, while they read the Bible, we're not, as a Catholic, I was not encouraged to read the Bible growing up, nor did I ever witness family members reading the Bible. So I can kind of understand, like, I do remember the first time I saw people reading the Bible, and I was like, well, this is different. So I can actually relate to that. It can certainly be a wake-up call. So apparently she started to shift away from the IBLP, and this was around the same time that 19 Kids and Counting was starting to come get canceled because of what happened with Josh. And so this article does bring up that Josh was accused of SA of minors. They ultimately did a spinoff called Counting On and followed Jinger and her siblings, but that was again canceled in 2021 because of Josh's ultimate conviction and charges. So the biggest thing that I think here is that, one, she recognizes that she starts to realize that Gothard's involved in this stuff. So the addressing of Gothard's past isn't going to be glossed over, which I think is going to be incredibly important, especially to those that are in the IBLP, because I think a lot of people try to dismiss what happened to the people that he hurt, and they try to say it never happened because the internal investigation tried to prove that like nothing happened, and he denied things. So I'm glad that that will be addressed, because I feel like the people that were hurt by Gothard will feel maybe in a way seen and validated. But the publisher actually notes this, that she will explore, it will compare her brother Josh to Bill Gothard, describing how the revelations impacted her and further bolstered a belief in the internal religious commitment rather than performance of one. So Bill Gothard was this kind of guy that would pretend that he was being a really good Christian, and then he was hiding behind that with the performance so that he was able to do bad things. Josh Duggar also was doing the same thing. He was doing stuff with FRCA. He was being a lobbyist, pretending like he was all about family and faith and freedom, you know, and so he hid behind that as well. And so that's going to be interesting. I'll be interested to see her actually address this, because nobody in the family has really made this comparison ever. It's been something that's been talked about so widely in the public that Josh was able to hide for so long because of the teachings of the IBLP, and it really strengthened his family's ability to hide them, because there's so many teaching within the IBLP, not only about the umbrella of authority, but also about the family's good name and honoring the good name and all of the rules that keep people silenced because there are no victims. So apparently she says that she hopes that this book will reach the people that she influenced when she was a follower of Gothard. She said, I realized that some of what I had been taught was hurtful and untrue, and I knew I needed to speak publicly about that because I promoted teachings that I now believe are damaging. She says that feels like she's in a better place now. She sees God as a loving God and as amazing, and she still has her faith. And the publisher said that despite all of this, she was still able to overcome all of it and still walk away with her faith. And she said that her final reminder was that to those who have wrestled with their faith, to not give up on God. So I know I've talked to some people that think that like maybe in 10 years she'll have another book, just like saying that what she's telling people now is wrong. I don't know, but I think the fact that she's denouncing the IBLP is wonderful. I think that it's good that she'll be able to share, you know, why she came to this decision. But really, what I think is the most validating in what I'm seeing here is that they're actually going to have a conversation about Josh and Gothard, and that's meaningful. And that's not going to be that's not going to make her parents happy. Jim, Bob, and Michelle still follow Gothard, even though they say they don't, and they still follow his teachings and they still admire his work. So, you know, it'll be to have them compared together and it not be for the reasons of glory, but rather for their faults, isn't going to work too well with the family. And she probably doesn't care. Now, she shouldn't, you know, there's this sadness that I feel that she feels like she needs to correct a wrong of what she was doing, probably under the guise of her father. But at the same time, I think it is important that if there are Duggars that don't believe this, that it does matter if they speak out, because that influence did lead to people joining the group, and it ultimately could lead to hurtful and damaging things happening to people. They're not responsible for those damaging things that happen to them, but their influence to have people join can't be overstated. So I'm commend Ginger for going there. I'm eager to get the book and see it, and I'm looking forward to more interviews to find out more about what's in the book. Tell me what surprises you most about these latest details. Bye, guys.